Hi, this is Don DeRosa, and thank you for stopping by my Ask Don DeRosa website. This is the fifth part in a five-part series of negotiating, and I want to thank you for joining us and staying all the way till the end. If you've just joined us, make sure you go back and check the first four pieces of this out. Um, in the first four, we talk about negotiating, and really, most people don't really understand or believe that they negotiate every single day of their life, from everything to what kind of movie I want to watch, with your spouse, where I want to go on vacation, everything that you do is basically a negotiation. So the better you become at it, the more you're aware of it, the better you'll get. In this series, the first series, we talked about believing in your offer, how you should believe in your offer, because once you believe in your offer, that makes it really, really strong. I got people looking at me like I'm some kind of nutball here. Secondly, making sure that you're meeting the seller's needs. The third one is building rapport. And then the fourth one we talked about is having an objective basis and being able to give them facts and figures so that they understand where you're coming from. And anytime that happens, your negotiations take on a whole new light. And in this last one is know how you're going to overcome your seller's objections. Now, that's really important because this is where the rubber meets the road. Because if you can't overcome the objections, you're going to seem like a novice out there. So the best way to do overcoming your objections is to understand what are their objections. What are their objections? I tell people this all the time, especially when I start dealing with buying and selling houses. They ask me, how do I convince someone to give me the deed to their home? I'll just pick that one because that's a toughie. How do I convince someone to give me the deed to their home? Well, really, the way you do that is through the first four parts that we talked about: building rapport with someone, making sure your offer is credible, making sure you believe in your offer. And then it comes down to basically how do you, I mean, that's the selling part of it. But then you have the question and answer side, and they start saying, well, what happens if you don't make my payments? That's an objection. And in any negotiations, you have to be aware of what are the objections, what could possibly be the objections. And you have to have what I consider an elevator speech pre-prepared. That's a tough one for me to say. Pre-prepared for you to spit out. I call them an elevator speech, if you will. So someone says to me, well, Don, how do I know you're going to make my payments? My typical response, and it's always been the same response, is, well, you don't know that I'm going to make your payment because you just met me. I mean, you have no idea who I am. I said, but I will tell you this. This is how I make a living. And I'm going to put an awful lot of money into this, and this is where the credibility comes in by showing them, because I show them exactly how much money it's going to cost me to fix up their house, hold it, and how much money I'm going to bring to the table. So I say, look, typically I have $20,000 of my own money in this thing. It's not something that I'm just going to walk away from. So although you don't know me and you don't know that I wouldn't do that, I'm here to tell you that I'm putting $20,000 or whatever that number is into this project. It's not something I'm just going to walk away from. And I do this full time, so this is how I feed my family. So I have no intention of doing that. Now, does that explain everything to them? Does that make them feel better? Yes. Anytime you have an immediate, concise answer to their question, that makes them feel better. And when they feel better about you answering their objections, then the negotiation comes around. So remember, figure out what your objections could possibly be and have a little speech written, or not written, but in your head, at least have gone through it. And sometimes it's quick when you're negotiating with a car, for example, or a salesperson with a car. Think about it right now. What are some of the objections that they could come back to you? You should obviously go in with a plan. No, every negotiation you should have a plan. You should have an offer already, because if you fail to make an offer at the beginning, and if you don't know what your offer is going to be, the negotiation is doomed to fail to begin with. So you have a plan going in, and once you have a plan, based on that plan, you're going to get certain objections. It could be based on term, could be based on price, could be based on a time factor, could be based on all kinds of things. But if you have a plan and you've thought through some of the Objections, especially in real estate. In real estate, it's real easy because it's almost the same objections all the time. So once you go through a couple negotiations and you get the same questions, you can build that. In fact, we give them to you in some of our materials. So don't be afraid of the objections. Figure out what the objections are, come up with your elevator speech, and your negotiation will take a whole new turn. So hopefully that's a good tip for you. Again, I want to thank you for joining me on our Ask Don DeRosa blog site. If you'd like more information, please keep coming back. We're going to update this every week. Um, and if you haven't seen the first four, make sure you go watch the first four. And if you have questions, please feel free to submit them on the site. Um, that's what it's there for. So thank you again. Have a nice day and happy investing. Have a good day.